Hello and welcome. It is Hal Feldman, Javier Gonzalez. It is the MiamiHal Real Estate. It's the Hal and Jav show, really.
Right.
So, Jav, we bounce around in this music as we have our opening.
Yeah.
What do you think about that music?
I think it's a little lame. I think we can improve it.
Where do we go with the music?
I don't know. Anywhere but where it is. Whatever we can do. I don't know. Maybe we can change it. Maybe we change it every session.
Okay. Speaking of changes and lame,
yes.
Let's briefly talk about our favorite sport.
That hurts. To lead off a show with the Miami Dolphins,
if we lead off and get rid of it, then the show can only go up.
It can only get better. Yeah, we're suffering right now. The reality of it is it's a QB league, and when you lose your quarterback, you're done.
That's true.
You're toast. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. And
the wrong injury does typically.
And that hit would have put away, a lot of people say, because to a small. That hit would have put away a lot of quarterbacks.
Yeah, agreed.
He got drilled. So,
right,
but let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Get blown out by Tampa Bay, and then we'll go to London.
Oh, that's a London game coming up.
Right.
That's right.
We just got to make sure that Myers, the coach, doesn't end up in a bar, but that's for another story.
And although I love the Dolphins, my hometown team is the Philadelphia Eagles,
which I spelled wrong.
So I get to suffer along with everybody in South Florida as well. Yeah. And I put up on a special social media platform, whose name will remain nameless. I said, what's great about living in South Florida and being a Philadelphia Eagles fan? You don't get to see many of the games.
No one cares.
I don't have to suffer through the actual game. I just get to hear from all my friends who call me and say, "Can you believe what just happened?"
Solid plan.
So, speaking of plans, we always start our show, although we didn't this time. We start our show with, "What did you learn this week?" So it's about real estate. You can ask me. Sure.
So what did you learn this week on real estate?
All right. So what I learned in real estate, which is just a lesson that I've learned many, many times, is always have a plan B. It doesn't matter who you're working with or what the situation is, or how good an agent you are. It's likely to change. Yeah. And so if you are caught flat-footed, I've got this under contract and it's just going to run through its course and I'm going to close and all my clients are going to be happy. Don't do that. That's what I've learned. You always have a plan B, because especially in this market, there are unknowns. And the unknowns in this case are tending to be pricing of homes and the contracts and then the appraisals. So a lot of things can change. The reason why I'm bringing it up this time is I have two wonderful clients. They are sisters. They're in their senior years, and they are desperately seeking a new home so that they can live together. Yeah. And they found the perfect home, really nice layout, exactly what they want, and it's still near the church that they want to go to. And they put in their offer. And I won't speak directly about what went on, but I didn't feel like the agent and the owner dealt with the situation the right way.
Right. Gee, what a surprise.
We put together a cash offer. So right there, that should raise the eyebrows of the seller and say, hey, cash is usually king, right? Yeah. They ended up taking another offer. Yet they said, we'd love to have you as our backup.
Right.
And so I not only have that already active, we have a signed backup contract, which we should probably talk about because a lot of people don't understand what a backup contract means. Correct. A backup offer and a contract are very different. But ultimately, they are comfortable because that's the house they want, and they figure, well, that's a backup and it's a contract, so let's stop looking. And no, the plan B is you must continue to look. We must find you alternatives because there are a lot of variables that may not turn out to be in your favor, and we need to make sure that by a certain date in November, they have a place to live because their old place is going to be sold.
Which we're going to have that conversation too.
Yeah.
About the paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. So what did you learn this week?
What I learned this week is that don't make golf plans when you have a showing that same afternoon.
That's very specific.
Yeah, because I just found out So I have a tea time tomorrow at 7:40 in the morning, and I have a showing at 12. So that tea time ain't gonna happen.
That's 9
But
holes.
right, but no, 18. But the good plan
No,
B
9.
is
It's going to be 9.
no, it's canceled because the good
Oh,
plan
okay.
B was
Yeah.
to go to plan B is the guy that I'm playing with isn't feeling well, so we had to cancel the whole thing. So
Okay.
it all worked out.
Well, plan B
Yeah.
should have been the golf anyway, because you make money first and then you go spend it
Absolutely.
when you have the opportunity.
No, the reality of it is that you in our business we do get a lot of leisure time and free times, but there's a lot of times when we do have schedules that have to be met, and
Yeah.
and
there's
sometimes
conflicts.
sometimes they're overwhelming, so we have to do it and be prepared for it. I joke about it, but the reality of it is it's always going to take precedence to your business model.
So we are also, as you know, on several social media platforms,
Mhm.
both live and then on demand. So I am suggesting to the audience, I'll look out at you, please
Hello,
send in
audience.
some questions. We'd
Absolutely.
love to talk to you about it. Hav and I have similar but different views on the market.
Yep.
And if you have questions, especially now, there's so much turmoil and change going on. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. We'd love to.
So speaking of that, we were talking about how the market is shifting,
Mhm.
and some people are over analyzing what's going on.
Yep.
And you had a very nice theory, which I'd like you to express to the audience, as to what happens when there's over analysis.
Yeah.
And
What we're starting to see is that we're losing this momentum that we have simply because sellers can't sell because they have nowhere to go. You just mentioned that to your clients.
Yeah.
Your clients have to close and find a place by X amount a day.
Right.
Because you're under contract and you're ready to close. So I think what's happening is that we are suffering that analysis by paralysis or paralysis by analysis, is that we don't have anywhere to move to. So currently we have 3 customers that we're working with that they can sell. They have their properties ready to go, ready to put it on the market, yet they can't move because of a lack of inventory. And again, I think sometimes we that do more of the single family residential, most of those clients are trying to move into a single family residential, which are not out there.
Right.
For one of the reasons that we also talked about all of these investment companies buying so many of these homes that are out there. There was just an article in the story last night about like Invitation Home and all of Wall Street buying up all of these properties and using them as rental properties. And that's not only through the United States, but it's also here locally, because we've talked about this before in some other shows, that we have an investment mentality, especially some of the local I guess folks that live here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a good example of it too. When my mom passed away, we didn't put our property up for sale. We actually kept it and use it as a rental, as an investment. And we're not, we're the norm. This is something that's out there all the time. So I think there's the perfect storm that's hitting us right now that doesn't allow sellers to go on the market. Buyers are starting to fall away because they have nowhere to go. We've seen our rentals increase, where you may have had some buyers. The rental market's insane.
Yeah, I had somebody coming from New York, and we looked around and found them a couple of properties that would be good. And the requirements that the agents and the landlords are now asking for are insane. Now, normally the idea, let's talk about what normal times are and what as a landlord, you want to make sure of a couple things, right? You want to make sure that the people that you're going to have in your property are going to take care of it and are not criminals. So you do a background check. You want to make sure that there's sufficient money so that they will pay their rent on time. And that's about it, right? Those are the 2 main things you want to make sure of. And then you rent at a market rate. These days, especially with this most recent rental that I was involved in, they wanted to have assurances about whether or not the property was going to have renter's insurance on it when they moved in, if the kids knew how to swim because there happened to be a pool there, deep dives into background. And on top of that, we had already offered to make sure that we had a chance at this about $150 more than they were asking. So the it is so difficult to get somebody into a rental these days. It's insane.
I get
right?
I will. One thing that I've mentioned, Ashley, who works with me, she just put 3 deals together, and her strategy has been actually pretty solid. She comes in already with all the credit, the deposits, the bank statements, everything that you would expect your typical landlord to ask for, and they're presented with the offer. And that gives assurance to that landlord that says, listen, I don't have to dig up anybody else out there.
Kudos to you and
Yeah.
Ashley for doing it
She's
right.
she's just put together 4 deals. And again, it's we've talked about agent relationships. You know some of the agents, they trust you because you've been in the business
Right.
so long. But again, I think all of those details and that detail format, I think is very important, especially in today's market.
But we go back to your original point, which is people are trying to sell or
Yeah.
wanting to sell
Yeah.
and they can't.
Mm-mm.
And you hit a couple of points. Let's continue on that thread. Why can't they get their house on the market?
If they put it on the market, they know they're going to sell. They know that the market is still strong enough to sell. Where are they going to go? How are they going to move through it? How are they going? What's their next step? And where are they going to go? And that is our biggest issue.
So paralysis
by analysis.
By analysis, or actually paralysis because they're afraid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They're afraid
Yeah.
because, okay, what happens if I get under contract? I don't have confidence that I can find somewhere to go. I'm going to be homeless, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is so funny, the timing.
Yeah.
Our producer just left the room, right?
Did he?
So
Nice.
there's only one camera shot.
Perfect.
And I'm going to prove that the market is feeling weird. Here's
Right.
how we're going to do it, right?
Okay.
We're going to stare out at the camera.
Okay.
In our heads, we're going to count to 10.
10.
And let's see what it feels like to us. You can get to 10, right?
10.
Because this is what the real estate market is feeling to most agents, right? It's like, I have plenty of things I want to be doing. And I know that if I did them, they would work, but nobody's doing anything.
Nope.
I'm sitting around. All right, 10 seconds. You ready?
Count.
Look at the camera.
Right. Got it.
We're counting down now. Feels kind of weird, right?
It does.
And I bet you when the producer walked back in the room,
he was like, what the hell's going on here? These guys are just aimlessly looking at the
That's called
screen.
dead air, by the way. In the industry, that's called dead air. Yeah. You never want that. No. And we don't want dead air in the real estate business
right now it is.
And it kind of feels like that. I wake up and in normal times, I have, appointments set and we're doing specific things to get somebody to either sell or to buy or to rent. And I'm not doing that these days. I am doing very different things. I'm doing exploration about somebody that wants to put their house on the market, like you were saying. But people are paralyzed to a degree. How do we get past that? Because we have to get past it. This is not going to be the new norm.
It's non-sustainable. I think the reality will be is as the big pushes that we've had come in, either from the West Coast or from up north start to realize that this isn't what they were expecting, which they will. I think the West Coast, I was thinking about this as driving over. I think the West Coast has a little bit more acclimation to what we are and who we are. I don't see the Northeast that way. I think the Northeast has, from a cultural standpoint, it's a different lifestyle. It's a different gig.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be the first ones to kind of move back as the taxes. We've talked about it as the taxes change and state income tax and stuff like that. So I think that'll be the first shift. When will we see that? I think we start to see that early next year, as our first move, as people realize, okay, I've been on vacation for a year, I can go back home. And I think that will be the first trend. Will that open up some of the rental markets, which is what really put pressure on us? And then later on down the road, we'll start to see how how everything shakes out. I would probably say late next year. But it's got to move. We can't, unless you're going to go start changing zoning. We talked about this in one of the shows. You can say, okay, hey, Pinecrest, on your acre, we're going to build 9 homes. Let's see how the neighbors take that.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We live in a peninsula. We don't have land. That's always been our big play.
You want to get into a little facet of that? Because I don't know why you brought it up, but I'm glad you did. So I am working with a client who has now purchased an 1.25 acre plot.
Okay.
I should say lot in Palmetto Bay. It needs to be platted. It never was platted. And his goal is to take this relatively large piece of land and divide it into thirds so that it can be developed to its fullest.
Right.
And even when dividing it into its thirds, he has enough physical land for each of the lots to be in the correct zoning.
Yes.
But there's not enough frontage. He's short a number of feet for each of the 3 lots. So I'm learning this firsthand because I never did this before. But the buyer, and now the owner, and I have to go and any contiguous
Mm-hmm.
property to the one that is the subject,
Right.
plus anybody across the street that is in line with
Mhm.
that property, needs to be asked
Yep.
if the variance, this
That they're rushing. Sure.
this lesser frontage, is acceptable
Right.
to them.
Right.
And it's a real interesting process,
Mhm.
especially when you're in a neighborhood, which we're in,
Right.
where those neighbors know each other. And really, even though they're separate households, they
Right.
appear to be really talking to each other and moving as a whole.
That's great.
Um,
Usually think of a covenant running with the land. That should get you kind of smoothed out. So talk to them about that.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're talking about a number of things,
Mhm.
but more importantly is they like things the way they
Oh yeah,
they
for
were,
sure. Nobody
right?
wants
And
change.
that's typical of
Yeah.
most neighborhoods. Look, if you've had across the street a 1950 house, which
Yeah.
is what's on there, a very small 1950 house, and a whole bunch of grass and trees, you want that forever.
Yeah.
But it's going to change. And so I think the approach we took has been good so
Yeah.
far because we keep an open dialogue with those folks. We're not just ramming it down
Yeah,
their
right,
throats
right.
and saying, hey, by the way, this is what we're going to do.
Right. That's
It
critical.
is a discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see the human side to this, which is very interesting. The village is mechanical. You got to do
Oh,
this, you got to do that.
Mhm.
You have to make sure FPL can service those
Yeah.
3 houses instead of 1.
Mhm.
You have to do. We're doing all that, but we're also trying to make
Yeah.
sure and assure those neighbors that they're not going to have monstrosities
Right.
built there.
Right.
It is going to be conforming to the neighborhood, and we need their support.
For sure.
And ultimately, that small signature, yeah, it's okay for this variance, is going to raise the bar for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you raising the right bar?
No, I think what
two-story
you
homes versus 1, we're doing 1.
Yeah.
Because that's what belongs in that neighborhood.
no, I think the approach that you took is the right approach, as opposed to, it's a lot of the developers that are out there are going to say, this is my plan and this is how we're going to do it and this is what we're going to ram down your throat, because they can say it's by right. In your case, you're asking for a variance and a warrant, so it's a little bit different. Oh, my phone's ringing. I thought I had turned it
You
off.
forgot, grab it. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Hey,
Step
you know
out.
what? Plan B. The plan B is I'll talk to you for a moment. Look, this is actually very telling of what the real estate market is like. We go through phases, and some of them are comfortable and some of them are uncomfortable. Now, my phone is ringing, except you don't hear it.
I don't even want to tell you where you got your phone.
Are you
Hi, I'm
dialing
back.
me?
Yeah.
Did you just dial my phone
I
number?
didn't do that too.
What
Sorry
else
about
were we going to talk about? We were going to talk about an interesting thing that happened to us, which is tangential to real estate. We had a couple of weeks ago, we had a gentleman on who was running
Yes.
for the commission.
Right. So we're
Right?
for a commission.
For a commission
Yep.
seat.
Yep.
And very informative.
Mhm.
And I'm thrilled that you brought him on.
Yep.
You invited him on. And you inviting him on and sharing with our audience turned out to be a little rough.
Yeah, a
for
little.
you.
I got to be a little chaotic. I got a little pushback from.
Why was it chaotic?
So I got a call from one of the other candidates' people.
Yeah.
Saying that why did I have them on and was I supporting and all of that? And I'm thinking to myself, no, I made the same offer. I said, listen,
wait a minute. Somebody called to lightly, I'll say it at the beginning, complain.
Lightly.
Why did you have him on?
Yeah.
And you had already invited that person that was complaining.
I told him, I said, listen, come on down. We'll be more than happy. We'll be happy the same conversation. Because at the end of the day, our goal is to inform people how things that happen in the public service section, how political decisions are made, how they affect us locally.
Yeah.
You're going to go through it now with your variant. You're in the city trying to find something else. So again, I invited him to, he's not going to come out here. I said, okay, fine. But I mean, you got the invite. So I'm sure I'll catch some more hell later on in life.
But what we learned from that is that any kind of publicity is good publicity, right? So we offer it to somebody.
Yeah.
Actually, you offered it to everybody.
Yeah.
One person took you up on it, and now everybody else is upset.
Right. And that's
even though those other people weren't mentioned. It wasn't like anybody bashed anybody on this show.
No, and again, it's just about what are some of the thoughts. And again, it goes back to my premise. This is a show, at least, when we do our take, is how this, politics and political decisions affect us as realtors.
Yeah.
You as an agent, not you as an agent, but as an individual. And again, I'm going to go off topic or on topic, but
Well, we're on politics
yeah,
now,
what the hell?
so
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been getting these in the mail if you vote by mail.
yeah, there they are.
And there. This is mine. And pretty soon it's early voting, and it's all across the city of Miami that you have a vote for a mayor. You have some commissioner seats are up. You also have some local referendums that are up. And if you don't know about them, if you don't learn about them, and when it happens to you, and when you realize and you look up and say, "Hey, what the hell's going on? Why'd this happen?" Well, you just had the opportunity to vote. So vote.
Yeah,
it's set. So, by
One
the
of-
way, hold on a second before I do that. Sorry,
Please.
sorry. Today's a rambling
Hey, it is
show.
your show. We're
Today's
doing
a
the Hob
rambling.
and Hal show. Yeah.
Today's a rambling show.
Okay.
I am running for village council of Coconut Grove, so vote for Hob.
Okay.
That was it. That was my.
That
plug.
was it.
That was my plug.
I think the interruption was longer than the actual
Exactly was.
announcement. So let's lightly touch on this because I know we're heading somewhere else we discussed already.
Yep.
We are months past the tragedy in Surfside, and that shed light on the condo market in a very interesting way.
Yeah, sure did.
And I'm not talking about the structural and the structural integrity of buildings and things, because that is still to be determined by the smart people.
Right.
One of the things that I kind of shook my head at was almost immediately after that had happened, everybody said, "Oh, this 40-year recertification is way too long and we have to shorten it." And I'm thinking in my head, wait a minute, why was it 40 years in the first place? And it was 40 years in the first place because some very smart people, certainly smarter than you and I in the way of engineering, went through what things should be checked, how often they should be checked. And this was not a rash decision to create the policy.
Correct.
By the way, only in certain counties in South Florida. This is not throughout the entire state.
Correct.
Okay.
You got it.
And then everybody, in a very snap decision, says, "Oh, we should do it every 10 years. Well, why? At 10 years after a building is built, there's almost nothing that, can I'm assuming, that can be so bad that X, Y, and Z happen. But from that, we're also just talking about condos in general. It had a ripple effect on sales immediately, especially ones that were on the water.
Absolutely.
And it has really shed light on how condominiums are structured, not only here, but across the country, about the association and the board members and how they either save money for future use or don't save it or spend money in an area that probably isn't the right area to spend in. You have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, it shed the light on how the boards and CAMs, community association managers, and actually we have a pretty good rigid CAM process to get it. I'm a CAM. I don't practice it, but I have it just from a knowledge standpoint.
Sure.
And we at least go through a series of testing and renewals, and I think that's one of the key things that we have. But it really shed the light on how these buildings are run and how the boards are comprised. And it goes back to the voting thing.
Right.
Heck, when I ran for commissioner, I remember people in Brickell telling me, "Oh, they don't vote. They don't vote even in their own condominium buildings. They don't even vote for things in their own building. They don't even even know who the people are. They don't even know how the budgets are."
I have a very direct story on that too. It's happening in my condo.
How often do we go in and tell folks, "Hey, read the condo docs, read at least the rules and regulations," And I think it's critical, and people just don't get it. And one of the things we briefly talked about, and we can go there if you want, about I did an interview for the Business Journal.
Yeah,
and
go there.
One of the questions was what the whole concept was, how Zillow could manipulate pricing by their iBuys and all that stuff, which I don't get involved with. But one of the questions was this estimate. And these estimates come up, and we've talked about the analytics are great. That's what they do. They're brilliant on it. But they don't know that building, who's running it. They don't know the ownership. Is it more than 10%? Where you can't get a loan is FHA approved. So all of these things affect pricing of buildings. And when you look at these estimates, that there's no way that they could quantify this type of information. Hence why when you have an agent with you, a local agent, that understands the buildings.
A local agent who also knows what they're doing, because there's plenty of agents that shouldn't be doing real estate. It's a disservice to the industry and to the people that they're working with.
I agree with. But I think that's one of the things that is overlooked in all of these pricing analytics. especially in the condo building, in the condo market.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with one now, you said?
I'm dealing. Well, it's not dealing with. Our condo is at the point where the building needs to be painted.
Yeah.
And so there was a very thoughtful process with the board. They created a architectural committee. That committee had expertise in coloring and design, and they went and spent months trying to figure out what colors would work on the
Right.
building. And everybody that's a unit owner gets a vote, right? So
Chaos.
we only had about 75% of the unit owners vote at all. And you sit there and go, well, this isn't very deep, right? This is, do you like this color or do you like that color? And put down one or the other. And we didn't get all the votes. And I'm really surprised by that, because can you imagine if it's something,
You can't change it.
Yeah.
And
so
go on.
of the people, I'm just going to shift because I think we can get to something much more important. Bring up the ballot again.
The ballots.
You said, things can change with voting. So some people go, well, I don't understand the issues that are out there. So why would I vote? And I don't want you to give anybody a specific, reason, but some of the topics that are going to be affected by the vote that you have there in that envelope this time around. What are the big topics that you were compelled? Well, I'm sure you're compelled to vote anyway.
Right.
What should other people be compelled to vote? Why should they vote? And what are the topics they should be paying attention to? If they can't pay attention to all of them, what are 2 or 3 that just are killer topics?
Just in the city of Miami, you have 2 commission seats that are up. If you live in that district of these districts, it's actually District 3 and District 5 that's up for election. If you live in these districts, these people that are going to be elected will directly affect your life. This isn't presidential. This is something local. Their decisions and the way they operate will affect what's done in your neighborhood. And that's 1. 2, you have the mayor of Miami is being elected. Do you believe in how the mayor's working, or do you not? Or that's up to you to decide. And then also there's local referendums, and I think those are the really keys. And these things are things that will affect your neighborhood directly, and you can vote for them. And in ours in Coconut Grove, there's one about the marina giving a lease without any bid to an operator for 75 years. So it's like, oh, hey, hi, here, would you like this marina? Sure, take it without a bid. So
wow,
all those things.
So I'm not able to vote in this particular election, but if any of those topics struck a chord with our audience, they should be out there paying attention to those, areas and others, and get out there and find a candidate that has your beliefs, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the information is readily available. It's not that hard to find.
Speaking of hard to find, which is rentals and housing.
Yep.
Do you have something that's just on market or coming up that you'd like to share with our audience?
I have a wonderful waterfront property coming up.
You're kidding.
With, beautiful views.
Waterfront where?
Where? In a very desirable neighborhood.
Okay. Is it a lake?
No. We're talking water. Like real water.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
all right.
Water stuff.
And approximate time that would be
it'll be at the end of this month.
Can you talk about size?
Yes, it's about 3,000 square feet.
Okay. So as soon as that's available on market, you'll announce it.
I will announce it as soon as it's ready and the photos are taken and everybody's been involved. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's a beautiful property. I sold it, and it's just a nice, cool place.
Well, we're skating the topic because if you don't know, real estate agents and brokers are tied to very specific rules about what they can talk about. If it's not in the MLS, that's the official way, so that everybody has equal opportunity to purchase. We cannot specifically talk about
and they hate
things.
me to begin with, so they really do.
They'll come after you before they'll come after me.
Oh my God, yeah, it'll be same thing with the commission candidates will come after me. Yeah, I'm famous for using certain words that they don't like. So,
well, let's wrap this thing up.
Okay.
I understand next week you won't be able to join us on the show.
No. Next week
Why?
I will be traveling. To a little place called Iceland.
So we should all be jealous.
So I don't know about jealous. I'm going to be wet probably and freezing, but my wife has been wanting to go there. So everybody asked me, how'd you pick Iceland? And I have a friend of mine. This is a true story. A friend of mine who his niece says, I said, yeah, well, we're going to go somewhere. And goes, why don't you go to Iceland? and my niece has been there. And it's funny, Iceland isn't that far away if you're in New York or Boston, which up in the Northeast. So we get talking, and he says, "Yeah." And so we get all excited. We're going to go to Iceland. We have no idea what we're going to do in Iceland or anything.
Right.
So I call my buddy up.
Yeah.
Said, "Hey, dude, can you ask your niece where we can go, what we can do?" He calls her up and says, "Oh man, she was only there on a layover. She was there for like 5 hours."
You got 5 days in Iceland,
right? I have
on a
trip.
false
completely.
basis.
Completely.
Okay. Yeah. So while you're away,
yes,
and we've been talking politics, I'm going to be having the mayor of Pinecrest on.
Cool.
Okay.
Very good.
And it's going to be in a non-political format.
Right. Perfect.
And in the future, I don't have the exact date, but it is in November.
Right.
I have the county mayor again.
Great.
So
That's
Daniela Levine-Cava will be joining us right here on the show. I hope you will too. But until then, we're here for Real Estate Dreams.
Absolutely.
And we will see you next week on the show.
Take it easy. Thanks, guys.